I don't remember where I was going or what I was doing, but I'm sitting there at the airport and a Muslim walks in the garb too, you know, with the hat and the long flowing robe. Terrorist hijack. It's always at an airport, right? So I'm like, man, what is this guy doing here? My initial thought is like, hey, Kyle, relax, dude. He's not gonna do anything. That's stupid. And then there's a voice in the back of my head that's like, you know what, dude? Are you really going to let your guard down and you end up being killed because you weren't on alert? I said to hell with it, with political correctness, and I basically was there. I was ready to fuck this guy up, you know? But then he gets on a plane and he flies to wherever he was going. I get on my plane and I fly to wherever I'm going, and nothing happened. And it made me feel like a schmuck, you know? Like, wow, this guy is probably just going home to see his kids, you know what I mean? And so for me to feel this aggression towards this guy because he was different, I almost felt cliche. I felt like that, you know, that white bigot asshole, you know, for lack of better words. So it bothered me. It bothered me that I was having this visceral reaction to somebody I didn't know. You see them in the media over and over again, and every time you hear about them, they're killing somebody. You know, they're killing somebody that looks like me.
They're trying to blow up a passenger jet on Christmas Day.
It was a series of events that led to this, I don't want to say disdain, but there was definitely some reservations towards these people here in America.
Terrorists declare war on the United States. On America.
At war with terrorists.
Muslims to wage jihad against
Suspected terrorists.
Mass
The
murder.
worst terrorist massacre Al-Qaeda.
Muslims wage war
Insurgency of Al-Qaeda
by Islamic militants.
Islamic terrorists.
In order to elicit that visceral response from me, you had to be dressed with the headwear and the long flowing robes and the beard. That's a trigger right there. You know, they fit the stereotype of what a terrorist looked like, and for me, that was just an immediate red flag. For somebody that's been trained like I have, I think it's more of an aggression towards people that you deem to be a threat. I didn't feel any aggression towards Muslims in Afghanistan. I didn't assess them as a threat. You know, I'm the one with the gun. But when we got back over here, things changed, you know?
There has been a mass murder on the grounds of the largest military base in this country, Fort Hood in Texas.
The number of victims remains at 12 dead and 31 wounded.
The lone accused gunman in all this, Nidal Malik Hassan, is an officer.
My reaction to Fort Hood was like, here we go, another Muslim, another fucking guy. We give you guys all this rope and you're hanging us with it, you know? He shot soldiers, you know, you are a soldier, and then you shot other soldiers. Like, how does that even cross your mind? How insane do you have to be to turn on your own people? People that would take a bullet for you, you put a bullet in their back. For me, it was a shock that a Muslim could be serving in the military in the first place. I don't know, that voice in the back of my head is like, you know, let's hold on, Kyle. And it just bothered me that, like, I was stereotyping, I was prejudiced, you know? I can't stand people like that, and then it's like, wow, you're one of those guys too. And I consider myself a pretty open-minded person. If I'm feeling these feelings, I know there's gotta be a lot more dudes out there that are thinking way worse thoughts than I am. I think the best cure for ignorance is knowledge, so I thought the best way for me to help other guys that have the same sort of bigoted attitude towards this particular group, Muslims, was to make a documentary. I didn't know if it was going to happen, though. After sifting through these hateful anti-American websites, I found a website for a group called APAM, which stands for Association of Patriotic Arab Americans in the Military. That's who I was looking for. So I reached out to them, the president, a man named Jamal Badani, and I wanted to do an interview with him because I thought he had an interesting story to tell. It just so happened that the stars were aligned and we went into production Memorial Day weekend in Dearborn, Michigan. I was apprehensive, to say the least. There's two things special about Dearborn. One, Dearborn has the highest concentration of Muslims in the United States, and two, their Memorial Day parade just so happens to be the biggest in Michigan. I was nervous, you know. How's the sound? Do you want me to speak loudly or? Okay, just speak in a normal.
Are we good? You can hear us? Okay.
Okay. Jamal, thank you for joining me.
Kyle, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Can you tell us about your service? Where did you serve and when?
Sure. I just retired, actually, March 1, 2010. My service started on June 30th, 1981. I was 19 years old. I was just one of the other, like the other Marines, just being a 19-year-old Marine, you know, training and serving. So it started to be evident to me back then at a young age that those of us who possessed the unique ability to speak Arabic and the unique ability to understand the Arab culture and the Muslim religion, that there was a need for us. Shortly after the Beirut barracks bombing on October 23rd, 1983, I mobilized, arrived in Beirut in January of '84. The purpose of going there was because of my background. They needed people who could help bring the cultural divide together between the Marines on the ground and the Lebanese population. This was in addition to doing my regular job, which was a Stinger missile gunner. So that was a critical part of U.S. history that I was a part of.
Apparently there's been thousands of Muslim Americans in the military. Why do you think that the rest of America at large has never heard of you guys?
The reason Americans just started understanding or trying or hearing about us serving, because before 9/11, we were just going on our business, just serving our country. 9/11 changed all that. Mm-hmm. I started seeing on TV the Arab and Muslim community backlashed against from their fellow Americans. Children afraid to go to school because kids are going to discriminate against them. Really frightening for our community. Mm-hmm. It hit me personally when my daughters called me, frantic, just asking me and telling me, why do we have to be Arab?
They were embarrassed of their ethnicity.
But it shook me when they said, why did we have to be Arabs? In other words, why did they have to be who they were? Yeah. Question who they were. And to me, that was very, very disappointing. Now, I'm not disappointed about them, but at what just happened in our country. When you have people start questioning who they are because of the pressure they receive from their fellow Americans because of something that someone else did.
There has been an upswell of terrorist attacks carried out by Muslims since 9/11. I mean, would you agree with that? It's gotten more.
It's yes.
More frequent.
Yes, more frequent. And we need to be vigilant against those who we see in our community who threaten our way of life. This last attempted bombing in Times Square was on Broadway and 45th. 6 weeks prior to that, my wife and I and our children walked many times that street, Broadway and 45th, to go to Times Square. Got pizza a couple blocks away on Broadway. It could have been us that he killed. They're using Islam to justify what they're doing, but they're no different than criminals. They're just using a religion to justify what they're doing.
I mean, people talk about the culture of fear in America of Islam, yet we have Islamic people in this country that are scared of us. Do you want to talk about that?
There were 8 deaths that resulted from 9/11.
I had never
Muslims
heard that.
and Sikhs, yes. Oh, yes. One example, a convenience store owner, little market owner in California. And he was leaving home one night, came out, locked his business. He was shot, cold blood, right there in front of his store. Another individual had a restaurant named Osama's. People went in, killed him in his restaurant because Osama bin Laden.
Right. That name's become synonymous
Right.
with terrorists.
Right. I think more than anything is the unknown, the lack of education. You know, you see on TV these things about always talking about terrorism relates to Islam, and not the case. The Islam I grew up in or I'm a part of never taught me that. You know, it's a peaceful religion.
To be honest, I wasn't completely sold on him until I met him in Dearborn. But I tell you this, when I did meet Badani in Dearborn, it was like that, you know. It was like, oh shit, here's a grunt, you know. He's Marines. I call him a jarhead, but he's a military member like myself, you know. A lot of the same mannerisms, you know, inside jokes. I fell in with him, which was a huge relief. Jamal took me upstairs to show me some of the exhibits at the Arab American National Museum. I had never heard of it. Apparently it's the only of its kind.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Sheik back in the... Yeah. Bill George, Chicago Bears. Yeah. We're rolling. Yeah, this is the letter that we talked about the roundups that happened nationwide. This is specific to Dearborn, Michigan. The Department of Justice rounded up about 2,000 Arab Americans and Muslim Americans here in Dearborn. Basically, what it states, your name was brought to our attention because, among other things, you came to Michigan on a visa from a country where there are groups that support, advocate, or finance international terrorism. So that was a letter that precipitated young men, mainly between 18 and 34, to go and be interviewed about their background. So if you think about our legal system, you know, our country saying, you know, although you're innocent, you know, we believe you're suspect. And that's what's really wrong with this letter, and that's why it's displayed here at the Arab American National Museum in Dearborn, Michigan, because of things like this. So when we talked about our community,
Jamal was kind of excited, you know. His eyes kind of lit up when he got to show somebody who was interested, but an outsider as well. Myself, you know, I didn't know anything about all the various contributions that Arab and Muslim Americans have made in the United States as a whole.
Anana Mary reached out to me and said, so we're going to build an Arab American National Museum, and we'd really like your help in getting the military section set up. So we helped, we communicated to our members and helped get them their profiles and their pictures up here. APAM, the Association of Patriotic Arab Americans in the Military, we exists because of 9/11. We were founded right after 9/11 to educate our fellow Americans about our service, to help bring them closer to our communities. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Very good. Good to see you guys. It's been a year since we've done this. It's our fourth time that we're going to march in the Dearborn Memorial Day Parade. If y'all remember, the first one we did in 2007, we had over 120 patriotic members show up, families, service members, children, veterans, and it was really great to see everyone come out and support our community. Throughout our history, we have with us Alec Berry over there, World War II veteran. All right. Veterans like himself have paved the way for all of us to serve and gave us the inspiration to serve. We have Ron Amon, served in Vietnam, so we have a Vietnam veteran as well. All the way to modern conflicts, Mushir and Nader Safari. Nader served in Iraq. They're both right now in the reserves. Whether they like it or not, they've got a couple more years left. And then to the rest of you,
I was completely out of my element. I was with a group of people who, ostensibly were very different from me. I was looking forward to getting to see what these guys were all about.
I served with the United States Army from September of 1965 through August of 1967.
I served in World War II in the United States Naval Reserve. I went through training at Great Lakes boot camp and training there.
When you report to boot camp, one of the first things they do is take all your information, who's your next of kin, certainly, and on the application that I filled out, they ask for what your faith is. I put down that I was a Muslim. And then, the application goes on to some clerk someplace and they stamp out a dog tag for you. And it has your name on it and has your serial number on it. And it has your blood type on it. And the last line is your religion. And for me, obviously somebody just ignored or had no idea what a Muslim was. For me, they had my religion stamped as none.
None?
None.
Mine, they stamped on mine Protestant.
But had you put Muslim?
Yes.
And they stamped Protestant anyway.
Yeah.
You said after New York and 9/11, was it much different?
It was.
It was a lot
we
different
made
back
great strides. The Arabic-speaking community was making great strides, and that set us back at least 50 years.
Really?
Yeah. Really.
How about?
Certainly. I mean, when the attack occurred on the towers in September of 2001, we're loyal, patriotic Americans. We were attacked.
Yeah, we were attacked.
We were
I
attacked.
felt